My name is Linda Johnson, and I would like to introduce you today to a candidate for governor for the great state of South Dakota. Lora Hubbel is a former state representative in District 11 and has served one term. And before I forget, by Senator Deb Peters in a bid for state senator after redistricting forced her to pose a runner by 40 votes. This was even after Senator Peters was endorsed by a sitting Republican governor who was severely criticized for endorsing any candidates within his own party in the first place. Lora has read and heard many of the news articles and bloggers who have called her controversial and other names, but she's still willing and ready to seek this office, knowing that she has the answers to problems that South Dakotans face at this moment, this day, in this time. Lora just wants a chance to be heard. She wants to be seen and respected for her willingness to step up to the plate for change in South Dakota. She believes that what she has to offer will appeal to not only a small faction of Republicans, but many Republicans, Democrats, and independents and others who think the way that she does in South Dakota. Lora has been married to Dr. Tim Hubbel of Sioux Falls for 35 years, and they have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. Her son Justin is a former U.S. Marine, and her daughters Michelle is a small business owner, and Heather, who is studying for her master's degree at Mankato. Lora enjoys occasional time when she is away or will be away from the spotlight with her family that has stood by her and encouraged her in all her endeavors that she has pursued. Lora holds an associate degree in nursing and is a registered nurse. She also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. Today, Lora has her own real estate business. And while she is setting business aside, she will pick up the mantle to run for governor of the great state of South Dakota. Lora understands health care as she is and has been a nurse. Lora understands education as she has been a science teacher. And Lora understands the special concerns of South Dakota small business owners as she herself is one. As a former legislator, Lora also understands the way government can work to help all South Dakotans. In 2012, Lora had indeed inherited the position of chairwoman of the Minnehaha Republican Party county. And she felt that the position was just too constraining, therefore she did not seek to run for it after she had served out the term of the chairman who had resigned. Today, Lora stands here in front of us in a moment, not necessarily wanting to run in a volatile and sometimes hostile political climate, but feeling it is the right thing to do. Lora will tell you where she differs from Governor Dugard on issues, and especially in those areas near and dear to her heart, which will become the foundation of her campaign: Obamacare, Common Core, and energy development. Please help me welcome today Lora Hubbel to appeal to you for your support for her run in 2014 for Governor of South Dakota.
Was that volume okay for her? Okay, good.
You put the mic on.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you to everybody who came here today as I officially announced my announcement for governor in 2014. And thank you for Siouxland Libraries for hosting us today. One needs only to look at the attention one gets when you just apply on the internet to download the form to become in an official race like this. Thank you, Artist Leader, for all the ink that you spent on me and for keeping an eye out on my campaign. It did kind of change my plans a little bit. I wasn't planning on announcing quite so soon, which is why my signs aren't here yet. But I do have some information on the back table. I'd like any of you to take any of the books and the trinkets of the Constitution is back there. They're free. Just take them as you will as you go out. I'm sure today the number one question you may have on your minds is, who does she think she is? Why? What's going on here? Why is she running? And that's fair enough. Today I want to give you a glimpse of what I can offer South Dakota that is different from the Republican governor we already have in office. I have noticed over the past few years that our country seems different than when many of us grew up. People are not quite so carefree. Their hopes seem to be crumbling. The very foundations that we have counted on seem to be giving way beneath our feet. Just the other day, for example, I was babysitting my 16-month-old grandson. He's a year. little over a year, I had bought him a used plastic and foam baseball bat. And this little guy's nickname is Bam Bam. So I thought I would motivate him in a positive way using his Bam Bam skills. So I placed his little hand correctly on the bat, and then I helped him hit a few balls, and he loved it. He's just a natural, and more so than I ever was. I remember my dad teaching me how to hold the baseball bat, and I thought it was very awkward. But not this kiddo. He took right to it and just, started swinging like a little pro. In fact, he started swinging at balls, at the drums, at the furniture, at the dog, at Grandpa. He was pretty good. I was impressed by his prowess, and my mind began to picture the future, where I'd be watching him pitch in the Little Leagues. I could see him in junior high and then all the high school sports and games. And I could see myself baking cakes for the bake sales. I could see myself painting my face with the team's colors and enjoying all the revelry and rivalry of school teams, city teams, church teams. They all have to offer us. We all enjoyed that. And then I began to wonder if my mind returned to the present day. Will my grandchildren have that kind of America like many of us did? You have told me yourselves in conversations that you have had with friends and families that you no longer have the confidence that young people can achieve the American dream. Many of us are aware that even our TV shows feed this ominous feeling that we have about our future. I'm not alone in asking questions like, will the banks fail? Will the electrical grid go down like it did for the poor souls in western South Dakota? Are we prepared for this and other crises? I have these questions and other questions in the back of my mind also. But today I believe there are at least 3 issues that I can address as Governor of South Dakota, which will have a profound effect on your future. The first big issue is Obamacare. Here it is. Here is Obamacare. 127 pages of Obamacare. I'm sorry, 2,700 pages of Obamacare. And nobody can be an expert on this bill. It's far too massive. Tom Daschle is considered one of the architects of this law. And he said in his book, in fact, I read a couple of his books. His book is called Getting It Done, Getting the Health Care Done. And he says, I wrote some quotes on the front of the book, this new law is the most ambitious social change our government has ever attempted, page 271. So this isn't about health care. This is about social change. He had another quote I thought was interesting. A lot of them you can see, but only a couple I'll read today. He said that government health care, quote, will make our lives better when millions of Americans depend on the federal bureaucracies to do so. We're going to be depending on federal bureaucracies for our health care, and that's going to be better. That was on page 289. This is exactly what I've been worrying about regarding Obamacare, or some call it the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, which is already coming true. Many South Dakotans think that all the negatives of this law are either untrue or they will not come within our borders. At one time, I thought the same thing. At that time, I ran for the legislature because I wanted to stop Obamacare at the borders of South Dakota. I did not realize at the time that there are groups of people who stand to make a lot of money if Obamacare comes in and crushes the working class. These companies have an interest in forcing everyone to buy health insurance at a cost of at least double the health insurance premiums we're paying today. There are also companies called accountable care organizations that will become the money changers for all things health care, including your doctor. They are set to receive all the insurance checks and will divvy the money out for their interpretation of the law. They want to see Obamacare advance, so their bottom line advances also. You've got state funds plus federal grants for full-time jobs that will take all your private information and put it in networks of state data banks for all the world to see and to use without your consent. So I went to Peer in 2011 thinking I was in the majority of those who wanted to stop Obamacare. I found out differently pretty darn quick. It became evident that every Republican there hates Obamacare, but they're addicted to the money that it brought or would bring to South Dakota. It seemed like no big deal at first to me. In everyday life, there's love-hate relationships, so why not in politics also? So for a while, I still felt that every Republican wanted to do the right thing in Peer. They wanted to get rid of Obamacare. So I was a bit taken aback when I began to notice all the anti-Obamacare bills we brought to stop the implementation of this were killed by the State Affairs Committee. The State Affairs Committee is the Republican Majority Leadership Committee. In fact, I started calling it the State Agenda Committee, but they didn't see the humor in that. But I need to say, all these bills brought by your legislators were killed. These are all an attempt to stop Obamacare. Killed. I didn't understand that. And my biggest disappointment was when we passed Obamacare state version, commonly called Senate Bill 38, which is now 4 different chapters in our South Dakota law now. This bill, the Senate Bill 38, was 73 pages long, and it was ironic to me that in comparison, Obamacare in Massachusetts was 72 pages long. In fact, South Dakota hired 2 people from Massachusetts who implemented Obamacare to help us set up our bureaucrat-controlled healthcare system in South Dakota. This bill opened up South Dakota to be a conduit for all things Obamacare. It took away many doctor and patient freedoms and gave almost unlimited power for the bureaucrats to make up Obamacare rules anytime they wanted and in any way they deemed appropriate for South Dakotans. In fact, as an example of this law, there's many, but this is just one. Now that a doctor may have to give up payments for treatments that he has already been paid for, it's been approved, the treatment has already been rendered, but now it's law, not something you can negotiate, not something that's in policy. Now it's law that it can automatically be taken out of his own bank account without his knowledge. I asked the Attorney General's office about this, and they said, where were the doctors? You realize this bill was written in part by the insurance carriers. The doctors should have been there to oppose this law. Indeed, where were the doctors? Where were the doctors on this 72 bill that micromanages their entire practice? I believe they were in the clinics doing what they do best. They were helping and healing their patients. They expected their representatives to be resolute to do the right thing to stop Obamacare. And in my opinion, we were all deceived. This 72-page bill that I'm talking about, I'll show it to you here. Here's the clean copy of it, right here. You were given a day or 2 to look over it. Here's some of my notes on it, and here's my notes on the bill. But this bill took me 3 months to decipher. In fact, I stayed home and put my business on hold just to get through it during the summer of 2011. I learned the terms, the buzzwords, the acronyms, the references, and I got a better understanding of the federal law versus the state law. The more I learned, the more I became sickened for South Dakotans. In fact, I would wake up in the night, literally, in a cold sweat, in nightmares, after reading late into the night, thinking about what this law would do to our future and to our children's hope. And I thought nothing could be worse. Actually, something is worse. I have seen and read some of the same buzzwords used in describing a new educational system for our children. Words like best practices. You realize when they say best practices, that means the bureaucrats will tell you what the best practices are. Words like meaningful use. Words like maintenance of licensure. Ooh, licensure, you're talking about my teaching license? Are you talking about my doctor's license? Quality assurance and data mining. We're now referencing another top-down federal program. And I learned a new term. It's called Common Core. Oh dear God, I prayed, don't let them do to our precious little children what they intend to do to our weak and sick people. I thought to myself, who are these people who want total control of our health care and our educational systems? I'm here today to ask you if you haven't noticed that doctors and our teachers are now afraid to speak out against Obamacare, or they're afraid to speak out against Common Core. Why is that? Why are some of our most beloved professional people that we rely on, like doctors and teachers, now afraid to rock the boat? Maybe it's better for them just to accept these changes rather than endanger their positions. Like you, my mind has a hard time getting a grasp of this new reality. So my second reason for running for Obamacare: 1, get rid of Obamacare. 2, get rid of Common Core. Common Core is a set of standards that no one in South Dakota has developed. They were handed to us by the National Governors Association and other unelected think tanks and rich people who told us to implement them, or we would not be educationally competitive. Even though our own South Dakota standards are higher than the Common Core standards. It's because they have to be. When you think Common Core, you think lowest common denominator, so these standards can be applied to nationwide. Not only nationwide, these are global standards, or they want them to be. And we're accepting that. We're lowering our standards to the lowest common denominator, the Common Core standards, so we can be educationally competitive, so we can have workers ready to, at the end of the age 20. Common Cores are basically from birth to age 20. That's not age 22 when you graduate from a four-year college. Common Core standards are to get you into a lower school, a community college, not really for higher thinking. And you know, our founding South Dakota fathers, I believe, saw this. And we have in our law right now that the South Dakota Department of Education must develop educational standards. We have ignored this law, this protection that our founding fathers gave us, and we just adopted standards from a liberal trade association instead of getting the input from our own superior South Dakota teachers. You can go online and you can see the standards. They're at corestandards.org. And you can go on these Facebook pages and see the many examples of Common Core's brazen attempt to indoctrinate our children with the rigorous destruction of our South Dakota values. People have told me what they are experiencing in school, and it makes my heart hurt. Their younger children are crying at night doing their homework and crying in the morning that they have to go to school. And this is not just a few. No, many, many people, many parents of the younger kids are distraught. Being challenged on virtues we tried to instill in them growing up. Virtues like respect for authority, purity, pride in America. These are not politically correct terms anymore, nor of any great value in the Common Core world. I ask you, why does our conservative state seem not to care about our values and concerns? I hate to say it, but I think it's all about money. South Dakota is a welfare state, and by law, we must balance our budget. So we get as much federal money as possible. In fact, in Pierre, it's actually referred to as free money. Oh, don't worry about that. That's free money. Free money? Oh, that's federal money. But they don't get the connection in Pierre that that's our money also. There's no such thing as free money. But along with free money come increasing mandates, or rules, if you will, or shackles that we place upon our people, even on our children, to balance our books. We must implement Obamacare, or we will lose out on free money that comes along with it. And this price tag comes at the destruction of our privacy rights. It destroys our relationship with our doctor. It destroys our family budgets with almost double insurance premiums and higher deductibles. Likewise, if South Dakota does not adopt Common Core, we will have the stranglehold to deal with from the last federal education mandate we accepted, the hated No Child Left Behind Act. So how would I do things differently as governor? In 2014, if South Dakotans elect me as their governor, it would shake up the alliance that politicians have with big healthcare business, with big insurance business, with big education business. And as an unaffiliated politician, I would not be indebted to the cronyism that rules our state. I would place new people in positions who know that South Dakota is on a dangerous path, a path which is not in the best interests of the majority of our people. Many will ask that if I don't join the game that's in play right now, how will South Dakota balance our budget without horrible austere implications? I believe South Dakota can ease out of this losing game we are playing with the feds, and we can tell them to take a flying jump just like North Dakota could. Our neighbor to the north is one of the top 3 states in our nation for job growth, fiscal responsibility, and they did it by using their own resources. There are things we have resources. There are things we can do to keep taxes down for South Dakotans. And I hear this everywhere I go. I believe that not implementing 2 very expensive programs, by not implementing Obamacare, by not implementing Common Core, would be a good start to save money. It would be a shock to people to think that South Dakota needs to go back to the drawing board. But indeed we do. We can develop our own resources responsibly. Our own state geologist says that we don't know if we have oil or natural gas reserves because we've not drilled in the areas of interest. I would encourage more drilling, but I would probably encourage a lot of private industry to come in and develop our natural resources, including oil, natural gas, and the mineral industry for the survival of our nation and our state and even our kids. I appreciate your interest in what I have to say today. I can tell you I am serious and I will work in the coming days to get out my message. I have a presentation. I didn't bring it today, but I have one available, and I'll be speaking to groups within the state in the coming month regarding my candidacy. I look forward to the challenge of shattering the glass ceiling in South Dakota and the chance to become South Dakota's first woman governor. And that has never been a real big thing on my agenda. I look across and I see my brother, and as soon as I said first woman governor, I thought my grandma would not care one bit if it was a man or a woman. I had a grandma who donned overalls and helped her husband in the field. She had a husband who helped her in the kitchen. South Dakota families, we work to get things done. We don't have a whole lot of city people in classes, male and female. We just work to get things done. That's what I plan on doing. So thank you, and may God bless the great state of South Dakota and all of America now and in 2014. I will take a few questions.
Obviously, you don't see a lot of Republicans trying to, run against an incumbent who is also Republican. What do you have to say to that?
Well, there's a very, I suppose, a big branch of what you call Republicans. And South Dakota, it kind of bothers me the way we put people in place in South Dakota. We saw it in the last presidential election. The RNC picked our candidate for us, and that made a lot of Republicans upset. And similarly, the same thing happens, I think, in South Dakota. One of the reasons why Dugard was elected, the rallying cry was, it's his turn. And I just like, when do we elect people because it's their turn? And there's been a lot of things that I would not do the same as governor. A lot of coziness with ad agencies, coziness with nepotism. I would not do those things as governor. I don't know why we allow this to continue without being challenged. I can expand if anybody wants any other questions.
How long have you known about Common Core?
Common Core is new on my horizon. I've known about Common Core for probably, I would say, 3 months is all. But what opened up Common Core so wide for me was I've had my head in Obamacare, as you can tell. Everything in my life has been, oh my goodness, Obamacare. I thought that was the end all of evils coming on our nation. So I learned all the, like I said, the buzzwords. But then when I saw the same modus operandi happening in a Common Core, it was an easy fit for me to say, oh no, they're not taking our school children to. So Common Core is very similar to Obamacare. That is the top-down, federal control of what you do. Which, boy, these South Dakota people, we are way too independent for having the federal government tell us what to do.
I have a follow-up question. If
Sure.
Somebody else has some. So, since you just heard about it in the recent 3 months, but it's already being implemented into our school systems, how did that happen?
It actually happened because I was told not to go too far deep into this because it is quite complex. And I did actually have a full-day conference on Common Core. And it was very productive. 200 people came and learned more about Common Core. Had some great speakers there. But it's my understanding is that Common Core was originated in the National Governors Association. You have to realize who the National Governors Association is. They are part of the Council of State Governments. This is not a federal agency. This is not an elected agency. This is a trade union. Some of the people who support these groups are people like Open Society and Tides Foundation. They're the ones who have basically bill mills or model legislation. When our legislatures go to these meetings, they bring back, they don't develop these bills. They didn't develop this bill, this Obamacare South Dakota, here in South Dakota. They didn't develop 72 pages of bills here. They get it from these bill mills or these model legislation trade unions that give these bills in every state similar bills. So it's kind of like, why? We're supposed to be developing our own legislation in South Dakota. We're not supposed to go to these organizations, these foundations that support the National Government Association. They're liberal, very liberal. Why are we taking their legislation and bringing it back to South Dakota? That's how we got Common Core.
Do you feel the same way about ALEC? I mean, they create model bills as well.
ALEC used, I think, they do have model bills. And I think ALEC was in response to the National Government Association. You know, when you see one side being so heavily weighted on the liberal side, there's got to be some sort of response on the conservative side. And I think that was kind of a response to the Council of State Governments. And yeah, we do not actually, in South Dakota, we pay to be members of the Council of State Governments. I think $150,000 of your tax money goes to fund liberal bill mills. None of the money goes to fund ALEC when I was in the legislature. That might have changed now. But ALEC is a bunch of people who are business directed, and they bring in people at legislatures to their meetings, and they try to also have model legislation to counteract some of the more liberal legislation that comes up.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding that the bills that are being passed at our legislature are not bills that have come from the people in this state. They have come from outside of this state. And they're impacting our lives, and we have no say.
We do. We have to have people in there who realize the process here. And a lot of our bills, in fact, all these bills that I included here to stop Obamacare, those were from the hearts and souls of our legislators. Those bills absolutely come from our legislators. A lot of times you will talk to your legislator and you will ask them to bring a bill to South Dakota because something in your business or something is at odds or should be addressed. And that's the reason why we have a legislator, to do those types of businesses. My argument is that, you know, whose writings and whose bills are we bringing into South Dakota? There are some good ideas out there. There are some good ideas in other states that we could bring to our South Dakota state. But yeah, we need to vet those. We need more than 2 days to read a 72-page bill. And we need to be knowing where these bills are coming from. They're being brought by legislators, but they're not being developed by the legislators. Some are.
How did that get funded? I mean, the money that's going from the state of South Dakota, our tax dollars, is going into this National Governor's Council.
Well, and then the foundations. We're paying a membership due to that, and they're also funded by these foundations. These foundations pay for the speakers, pay for the wine and cheese, pay for the rooms, and pay for the the churning out of these bills. And yeah, and I think that's fine. They can do that, but let's just know what they're doing, where this is actually coming from.
So, if Governor Dugard promote Obamacare in South Dakota, could he have stopped it?
I believe he could have. I believe, in fact, some of these bills here that I'll show you that were stopped here to stop Obamacare. That was killed. And the governor does have a very close relationship with the Republican leadership, and the Republican leadership took all these bills into their committee. Here is repeal, the South Dakota version of Obamacare killed, repeal Senate Bill 38 and 43, that was killed by the State Affairs Committee. Get the legislature to approve a health care exchange. The legislature did not approve an Obamacare exchange. There's only 3 ways a health care exchange could come into South Dakota. One is by legislative action, and that's what this bill was. We wanted, if we're going to have an Obamacare exchange, we wanted to be legislatively approved. No, that bill was killed. So it basically just came in either through Department Declaration, Department of Health Declaration, or through executive order. That's the only way we could have gotten a health care exchange. Here's one. We can buy insurance across state lines. That was killed. A compact with other states to get a reprieve from Obamacare. That was killed. There's other ones. Any willing provider. That was killed. In fact, the people that are here are carrying this petition, this any willing provider petition. I think I have it back here too. I'm hoping that people can sign it. So you don't give up your right to have your own personal doctor to be to stay with your case. That was killed. These are so yeah. He does have influence, but I say it like I told you. Obamacare.
Who's killing all these bills? We have to get rid of them.
That's leadership. That is the Republican leadership.
We belong to the 9/12 and the Tea Party. They tell you who voted for these bills.
And that's good to say. That's good to say on top of things like that. Yep. And we are a little past. Sure, ask any question or visit with you at the end. Please look at all my materials. I have to kind of apologize. I don't have my stickers or pins or my rah-rah stuff, but I do have, when I campaigned previously, I have copies of the Constitution, and back there, please take them. I've got more if you need more. And I do have a little flashlights there, and I want to kind of explain why I use flashlights as my insignia here. I want people just shine the light. Just light what's there darkness. Don't be afraid. And I thought it was interesting. After I bought these little flashlights, I go, how do I turn these on? Because they're kind of confusing. But you have to stretch them, okay? I thought, how apropos. You have to stretch. People, I have to stretch. You have to stretch. If we're going to make the state, this country turn around, you've got to shine a light and you've got to stretch. So thank you.
Lora will, that's her website, LoraHubbel.com, www.LoraHubbel.com. We're going to be putting onto that website her schedule. We'll also be putting a place there where you can ask for appointments with your groups for her to speak, especially next few months, before we get into the 2014 holiday season. Thank you all very much, and especially all the workers that she has, workers that volunteer in the room. And we're open. Any others? Go to the website. Thank you very much.